You know who else got a win? Anthony Davis and the Los Angeles Lakers. They were in action against Davis's former team, the Pelicans.
He started off the game on an 8-0 run and never let up.
Yep.
This is the Anthony Davis that if you see consistently, you're like, he should be an MVP candidate because he was playing bully ball down low. He was stretching the floor. He was blocking shots. And then the Lakers, they just got hot. You see that 14-0. They were shooting threes. I feel like they had 10 first quarter threes.
They did.
Easily.
They had 15 first half threes, 15 to 20. So remember when they couldn't shoot threes?
Well, Malik Beasley all of a sudden was heating up.
Everyone's talking about the Laker ball movement. It's like, yes, when you have multiple guys you can pass the ball to, then you're gonna have good ball movement.
New Orleans.
Yeah, look at the
their
score.
best?
Look at the score. It's 84-49. No one did their best. Just not everyone gets a trophy soccer league, okay?
Well,
They had to finish the game, though.
a little bit later. They did
Unfortunately-
make it a little bit closer, close enough that Darvin Ham felt like he needed to put Anthony Davis back in the game, that he couldn't just rest him for the entire second half, which leads us to needing to listen to Darvin Ham after the game. Because here's the deal. The Lakers now have a 62% chance to make the playoffs according to BPI. That's thanks to having the league's easiest remaining schedule by opponent win percentage. But remember I said we needed to listen to Darvin? They're going to be without Anthony Davis for tonight's game at Houston.
He's not going to play. He hasn't been cleared. Even though he's playing pain-free, we made an organizational decision, starting with our team doctors, to hold him out of back-to-back. So it's just one of those things where even though he's playing pain-free, it's still an active injury. So we have to monitor it, stick to the plan as we always have done, and just go out there with our other guys and try to get a W and finish the trip the right way.
I know Richard has some strong thoughts, but Ramona, before we get to those, what more can you tell us about AD here to help set the table for Richard's comments?
All right, so remember when LeBron said these are the most important 23 games of my career coming out of All-Star break? Shortly after that, Darvin Ham had given a quote saying that we can't afford to have anybody missing any games, and that led people to believe that there wasn't going to be a sit out of back-to-backs for Anthony Davis and other players who were coming back on injuries. Fast forward to last week, Anthony Davis sits out of a back-to-back in Oklahoma City. Nobody knew he was still sitting out back-to-backs. And Anthony Davis took a lot of public criticism for that. And so the Lakers have adjusted and made it perfectly clear that Anthony Davis is still sitting out back-to-backs. This is media management. This is clarifying things
Does that
where this
clarify
man
things
stands.
for you, Richard?
No, it doesn't clarify. Let me say this. I understand if Anthony Davis is injured. Anthony, let me talk to you, AD. I'm not ever be critical of if you have an injury, if you're banged up. I've seen you roll your ankle after just getting back, and I'm like, any player would be out if they stepped on a foot like that. It's been some unlucky stretch for AD. But when a coach says that a player is pain-free, but we're still going to keep him out, again, if you're media managing, if you're telling me that he's not having pain, if he has some soreness on the off day, if there's, and again, there's still probably some reaction if you're talking about
It's a stress reaction.
It's a stress reaction. So they're like, we're not going to overload it. I get it. But it's like, if you have pain, if you are pain-free, then I just get confused. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not being critical here. I just hear it, and I'm like, I just don't understand.
Are you I don't understand as Richard is, Perk?
Well, I'm going to be critical. Like, if you're pain-free, and I get it, it's an organizational call. That's what Darvin Ham just said. But if you're Anthony Davis, you could actually make a stance and say, nah, I want to hoop and cause some ruckus and ruffle some feathers and say, hey, I'm okay. I need to be out there. Like, as a franchise guy, you could dictate if you want to play or not. I mean, like, you could go in there and cause enough hell to say, I'm playing tonight. What are the Lakers' goals right now? Their goal is to actually get into the postseason. How are you going to do that? You're going to do that by relying on one of your best players in Anthony Davis to be available. And again, I live in Houston, and this is the problem that I have. Everybody's been calling me, talking about, the Lakers play the Rockets tonight. And I'm like, yeah, they have. You call me all the time. You call me all the time. But listen, here's the hey, here's the thing.
I'm afraid of Richard Pocket Dials.
Hey, The Lakers playing the Rockets tonight. I'm trying to go to the game. I'm like, Braun not playing right. They're like, so what? Anthony Davis been tearing the league up. So guess what? People actually want to go to the Rockets game to see Anthony Davis. And here's another example of fans that probably done bought tickets to go see certain players and now this player's sitting out because the organization have a plan. A guy that's pain free, that's not available. So it's so many areas that we could dive into this, but the most important area is that the Lakers are trying to get into the postseason. I understand the Houston Rockets have been horrible, but they just beat the Boston Celtics. Right now, they have guys that are playing for their careers, they're playing for their jobs, their livelihoods. They're playing extremely hard right now. So this is not a game that you're going to walk into and say, oh, even without D, we're a better team, because that's not the case. I believe Anthony Davis should go in there and say, I want to go out there on the floor and see what kind of pushback he gets.
Yeah, and real quick, Perk, we've all in the media, as players, you hear is so much about it's just really his pain tolerance right now. It's just really like, look, he's not going to injure something further. It's just a matter of his pain tolerance. We've seen C.J. McCollum playing with a splint on his right hand, but it's just about pain tolerance. Now, I know foot with big men, it's a little different, but that's why I'm saying you just get a little confused at the messaging. You're like, if he's pain-free.
Sure.
But that stress reaction was a real injury.
It was a real injury.
And it's a scary injury if you put too much stress on it.
The message is that it's confusing. That's all.
Okay.
So Richard is confused. What else is new?